Well, the first point to make is that I'm independent of the project itself. I'm not one of the project team. I'm an independent voice that people can consult if they have ethical issues that may arise during the course of the project. In terms of my formal role, I submit 2 reports on ethical issues faced by the project, one halfway through, which was already done, and a second report that will be due at the end of the project lifetime in a few months. In addition to that, I'm available throughout the project for people to consult and discuss any ethical issues that might have arisen during their carrying out of the fieldwork. So, for example, in February this year, we had an online meeting with 3 different sections of the research team, all of whom had questions that they wanted to discuss regarding informed consent of informants to taking part in the research. But I should emphasize that my role there is not as an expert to lay down the law. I'm simply an extra voice, an extra pair of ears to listen and give advice, which hopefully is helpful in getting the researchers to resolve the issues that they face. Well, ethics issues are always important for research, but for a project like VULNER, they're important for a number of different reasons. The most obvious is that the project, by definition, is dealing with vulnerable people. And as social scientists, our codes of ethics require us to pay special attention to ethical issues regarding the impact of our work on vulnerable people, minorities, and so on. So that's fairly obvious. What I think is less obvious is that the project also involves studying up, dealing with people who are more powerful than the researchers, people like state-level bureaucrats or judges. And they have their own codes of ethics and codes of conduct, which they may seek to impose on the researchers in certain contexts. And it's very important to have a clearly defined code of ethics to which one can point in case of any kind of issue that arises regarding our conduct when dealing with important people. So, for example, in my own work as an expert witness in asylum appeals, I had to somehow balance my duty towards the court, which the judge expected me to fulfill, with my duties that I've already mentioned as a social scientist towards the vulnerable asylum seekers who are taking part in court. So that's the kind of issue that may also arise in a project of this kind. Well, this is a very interesting and important question, and certainly ethnographically based projects raise ethical issues which are quite unique to them. It's important to anticipate in advance the kinds of problems that might arise. And in my experience, it's best to do this as early as possible in the research design process, because by thinking about and trying to identify all the ethical issues that might arise, one can design a project which hopefully will overcome most of those difficulties. But there are always going to be unexpected, unanticipated problems that arise, and the most obvious one in the case of the VULNER project was the COVID pandemic, which could not possibly have been foreseen. When the project's initial meeting was held, it was immediately before the pandemic started, and we had no idea that this was going to happen. So ultimately, there are always going to be issues like that crop up that were unanticipated, and a lot then depends on the personal integrity of the researchers and also on their ability to consult and gain advice through discussions with others. And again, that's hopefully where my role as the independent ethics advisor may play a part.